Hello everyone, this is Sharon Lasal, a Batelid HE 4th-year student, and for today's session we will be discussing about the indigenous craft in the Philippines. So what is indigenous craft? So indigenous craft are the products manually created by the ethnic or tribal groups in the Philippines. These are arts that are purposive in nature as they reflect the way of life during early times. This craft serves as a starting point of manual innovation that has lasting meaning and functions to the society. So, throughout the Philippine history, craftsmanship and its different forms have always been prevalent. The Filipino have an innate inclination to create, exemplifying the state of being engaged in their craft and taking a sense of joy and pride in their work. The Filipino craftsman dedicates himself to his art and telling the story of the Philippines, bearing its truest essence, its soul for the world to see. Blessed with the natural resources, Filipino craftsmen are able to come up with a magnificent product that tells millions of story not just about themselves but about the culture of their place. Clearly, this reflects Filipino crafts that magnify labors of love and patience. These are evident in the product of their skillful hand and imaginative mind. Creative craft in the Philippines do not only satisfy our senses, but each artwork speaks the passion and active involvement of the artist in visualizing, connecting, and appreciating the culture and the creative manipulation of the object around. And also, art was embedded in our culture since the beginning of time up to the present. It is one thing that can never be lost in our culture no matter what it goes through. The Philippines, having a rich culture, also has its own to share or has its own art to share that is discovered and practiced and even applied in our day-to-day living. So there are different indigenous craft in the Philippines, and this include cloth weaving, needlecraft, basket weaving, jewelry making, pottery, sculpture or wood carving, and tattoos. So let's come first to cloth weaving. So what is cloth weaving? Cloth weaving is a method of textile production in which two distinct set of yarns or threads are interlaced at the right angles to form a fabric or cloth. So one of the most precious living tradition that is still kept until today is weaving. So originating in the pre-colonial times, the art of weaving of the Cordilleras group in the north is still existing despite of the threat of the more practical mass production of cloth. So the native used backstrap lawn to produce a blanket and articles of clothing. So to make this, a backstrap loom is being used by the native in order to create a textile or in order to create a very well done product purely made by their hands. So in making cloth, the indigenous people use different raw materials which includes peña cloth and abaca fiber. So peña cloth is also produced in looms throughout the province of Antique. It is a delicate and exquisite hand-woven cloth that is made from the fiber which you can get in the leaves of pineapple craft or pineapple plants. It is popularly used in Barong Tagalog, our traditional cloths. Having its organic and airy textile, it is becoming more popular now around the world. So another is we have an abaca fiber. So abaca fiber come up from abaca plant that is endemic and grown in the country. It is woven chiefly to make cinnamide fabric. Abaca is popular in making rope, especially paper like or the specialty of abaca includes paper like vacuum bags, currency, and tea bags. These are also handcraft like there are also handcraft like bags, furniture, and carpets and clothing which are made from abaca. So aside from abaca and penny cloth, there are examples of cloth weaving. This includes pinala, the abel iloco, and the hablon. Of working with a needle, especially an embroidery or needlepoint. So here are example of needlecraft. This includes tubok or the heritage handicraft of Iloilo and Bininghay or the small ferns motif. So another craft we have is what we call the basket weaving. So basket weaving is used in the daily lives of the people in the Cordillera. Baskets are used for their occupations where they keep and store their foods as they go to the mountains, terraces, and cultivate lands. Example of the product of basket weaving include bigias, cradle, and tupil basket. So, bigias, this basket is mainly used for the agricultural crops, rice, and edible non-timber forest products, as well as the snail and other aquatic organisms such as shells. So this is made from, or the body of this basket is made from bamboo, and this um, th- and this bamboo is particularly abundant in seasonally dry and monsoonal forest. Cradle from Itawis, Cagayan, Eastern Visayas, a specialized basket used as a sleeping basket for babies or a crib for infants Um, the materials used in the example where the bamboo and wood originated from Itawis of Cagayan, and the tupil basket is another basket used as a food store, or yes, it is used as a basket where the native people store their food. Next craft is we have jewelry making. Jewelry making is a craft form that has been around for 4,000 of years. It is a form of personal adornment, manifesting itself as brooches, rings, necklace, earrings, and bracelet. So I know that all of you here are familiar in terms of jewelry making. So in jewelry making, there are um, Thus, jewelry making is categorized into two. First is the metal jewelry, and this jewelry is made of gold and silver, which are forms of earrings, bracelet, rings, brooches, necklace, tie, tie pins, pendant, and cuff links. While the other one is what we call the pearl jewelry. The pearl are considered as a precious stone or as a semi-precious stone. These are either unworked or worked types of pearl. But then, aside from the metal and pearl jewelry, there are also jewelry created our by indigenous people, which are made from raw materials such as coconut shell, wood, and etc. So some of the example includes earrings from the coconut shell, necklace from beads, and necklace from coconut shell and wood. Next is we have pottery. So pottery is defined as the art or craft of a potter to manufacture materials from which potterware is made. It can be made from earthenware, porcelain, or stoneware. So example of the pottery products includes palayok, manunggul banga, and tapayan. So another craft that we have in the Philippines is what we call sculpture or wood carving. So a sculpture, an artist form in which hard or plastic materials are worked into three-dimensional art objects. So mostly here in sculpture, it uses a stone or the other hand hard objects. So wood carving is also, it seems like they are sculpture and wood carving is almost the same. The only difference is that in wood carving, it only uses wood. So wood carving, the other hand, are the art or a fashioning or ornamenting object of wood by cutting with a sharp handheld implement. Also, an object of wood so fashioned or ornamented. So example of this sculpture wood carving includes anito, saint sculpture, and statues of Christ. Next is we have tattoos. So it is the process or technique of tattooing or creating a tattoo. Um, it involves the insertion of pigments into the skin dermis. Traditionally, tattooing often involved rubbing pigments into cut. So example of this is the La Islas de los Pintados and Batok or the Batok tattoo. So Filipino tattoos have a rich history dating back before the Philippine Islands were colonized by the Spaniards. When the Spanish ship first arrived there, they were greeted by the heavily tattooed Visayas tribe as they called the island La Islas de los Pintados, so which means the island of the painted ones. So another example of the Philippines, there is a tradition that has been practiced by women for many years. This is popularly referred to as a batok, meaning the art of tattooing your body with a tribal design using bamboo stick and twine. Batok is believed to have been practiced for about 1,000 years. And those are the crafts or the indigenous craft that we have here in our country, the country of the Philippines. And now, we will be discussing the famous craftsmen in the Philippines. First is the craftsmen for pottery. First is we have John P.T. John. Together with his wife T.C., is considered as one of the pioneers of contemporary Philippine ceramics. For the past 38 years, he has worked passionately in the high-fired Asian style ceramics. Although mostly functional, he also sometimes explores the boundaries between the utilitarian and the sculptural, which he feels strong um, are equal importance. The exploration for use indigenous natural materials like clay, stones, and ashes for ceramic are one of his major focus. Since 2000, he has concentrated of wood firing using anagamas or the cave gills or cave kilns known for the reach of natural glazed effect. Another is we have T.C. Pettyjohn, the wife of John Pettyjohn. Um, this T.C. Pettyjohn is renowned pioneer of the Philippine pottery, clay art, and the sculpture, starting her craft in the late 1970s. She has had many shows both here and abroad in her long career. Although she has retired from teaching, she's now concentrated in doing her own work for exhibits at here Laguna for the exhibit at here Laguna Workshop Studio. She continues to explore the use of indigenous Philippine clays, pigments, and minerals for making a high-fire ceramics and glazes. TC and her husband John are the forefront of the ceramic arts in the Philippines. They are or they have developed over many masterpieces which focus heavily in the use of uniquely Filipino materials. So, some of the works of Mr. and Mrs. Patijan includes ancient arches revived tree, the from the desert four, and totemic sculpture. So another potterer is Lanil Abueva Fernando. A potter based in Antipolo City, Lanil Abueva Fernando also runs the atmospheric Crescent Mont Cafe and Studio Pottery. She is mother to three daughters and has been in the ceramic business since 1981, specializing in a functional, handmade, and stoneware ceramics. Here we feature pieces from her Barong series, inspired by the embroidery commonly seen for the countries of the natural dress. So it means that Daniel Aveva Fernando is not only focusing on the pottery, but she also has a lot of talent of the different crops, which includes needlework. Here are some of her works, which he. This is some of her works here in the Philippines in her pottery passion. Next, we have the tattoo craftsman. So Wang Ugay is one of the known tattooer here in the Philippines. Ogay is known as a last Mambabato or Kalinga tattooist from the tribe of Butbot in Buscalan, Kalinga. She has been tattooing for the past 80 years, including headhunters for the Indigenous tribe at the beginning of her long career. So these headhunters were the warriors of their tribe who protect their villages to the extent of killing their enemies. For them, it is a symbol of bravery and courage. She also inked the skin of a woman, for from the tribe, the tattoos are considered as a sign of beauty and elegance. So here are some works, or here are some of her tattoo works. So next is we have the cloth weaving craftsman. So first is we have the Lang Dulay, who was born on August 3, 1928 and died on April 30, 2015. She is known for maintaining the use of traditional motif in tinalak weaving amidst of commercialization of the craft, which show the introduction of more modern design by non-Tibulis. She notably had a metal repertoire of around 100 patterns and designs. Some of these were based on her dreams, hence her description as a dream waver. Lang Dulay set up a Manlilikanang Bayan Center workshop in her hometown to promote the traditional art of tinalak or the tinalak weaving, and by 2014, 5 of her grandchildren had become weaver. She has given she was given Gaward ng Manlilikha Award because of her works. So here are some of her cloth weaving works. Next is we have Eliza Chawi. Eliza Chawi is the oldest weaver from the village, known for the traditional kankane weaving skill passed from the generation to generation for this day. Luck was on Chavi's side, fondly called Manay by their fellow weavers, famous fellow weavers and close friends. Chawi was able to land a weaving job at Easter Weaving, a famous textile business in Baguio City that had been established in 1908. Easter Weaving advocates the Cordilleras traditional weaving, and over the years grew into the place to visit the shop for traditional Cordilleras woven fabric, designer cloths, the Cordilleras design table, the woven beadlines, the wood carving, and anything Cordilleran or are all under one roof. So in cloth weaving, we have two famous weaver. We have the Eliza Chawi and Lang Dulay. Next is we come to sculpture or wood carving. In wood carving or sculpture, Jose Alcantara was famous. Jose Alcantara was born in 1911 and passed away in 2005. Jose P. Alcantara was a renowned Filipino sculptor, moralist, painter, inventor, and a businessman. Alcantara is remembered for his contribution to the rich and diverse Filipino art scene, and is known as one of the greatest sculptors that the country has ever produced. A native of Manila, Alcantara began his career in art at the age of 10 as an apprentice in the sculptural shop in the Quiapo district. He would go to he would go on he would go to hone his craft over the course of his lifetime and go on to win multiple prizes in competition held by the Art Association of the Philippines, as well as the various awards in the United States where he emigrated later in his life. So some of his award-winning works include section of Alcantara's famous wooden mural at the Philham Life Auditorium in Manila, sculptured in 1961. Also, we have or he worked the mother and child sculpture on 1953 and Inanang Lahi on 1951. Another sculptor or wood carver is the Fred Baltimore. Fred Baltimore is a Filipino-Asian modern and contemporary artist who was born in 1944. Fred Baltimore work has been offered at auction multiple times with realized prices regarding from $360 to 720 US dollar depending on the size and medium of the artwork. So he originated the Santo Niño de Palaboy, a popular subject among the wood carvers from his hometown. His work in Verno won honorable mention in 1978 and Offspring one done portraits religious icons, makes illegal in wood, ivory, alabaster, marble, and bronze. His original softwood statue of San Lorenzo Ruiz is in, is in the pastoral center of the Filipino Apostolate Archdiocese of New York. A bronze cast of this was presented to the St. Patrick Cathedral in NYC. So some works includes Maria Makiling, or some of his famous work includes Maria Makiling, the Bayanihan, and Santo Niño de Palaboy. Next is the famous craftsman in terms of basket weaving. First is we have Jose F. Reyes. Jose was born in Santa Maria, Ilocos, Philippines on September 15, 1902. After schooling in Santa Maria, Jose came to the U.S. and graduated from high school in Portland, Oregon. Then he received a BE from Red College. He also received a scholarship to Harvard University and graduated with an M.Ed. or Master's Education. Jose became well known for his innovative style and unique design in basket weaving from the time until his retirement in 1978. It has been estimated that he made over 5,000 baskets. Jose died at his home on Nantucket on December 24, 1980. Some of his famous basket work um, is what can you see in the picture, or yes, it is shown in the pictures. Next is we have the needlecraft or the craftsman in terms of needlecraft. First is we have Lenora Cabili. It is Lenora Cabili's profound love for the culture of the Philippine island coupled with her deep interest in passion that lead to her founding Flip Plus Ina. She is tireless in seeking out the practitioner of the Philippine archipelago's cultural knowledge, its weaver embroiderers, and bead workers. She is a fashion designer or a fashion designer who combines temporary style with ancient technique or weaving and embroidery created by indigenous Filipino artisan. So some of her works includes they um, they crafts which you can see in the pictures. Next is in terms of jewelry making craftsmen. First is we have Hans Bruman. Hans Bruman, the leading jewelry designer in the Philippines, today known for timeless masterpieces with contemporary design and exceptional craftsmanship, who was born on 1941 in Switzerland. Hans Bormann Incorporation was established on 1978 by Hans Broman with the aim to design, create, and manufacture unique pieces of jewelry in gold, silver, platinum, with diamond, precious colored gemstone, and pearl. These pieces are crafted by in-house trained goldsmiths. Yearly, a new collection is presented to the public. Some of the famous work and design of Broman are what you can see in the photos. Last one is we have Joby Dizon. Joby Dizon is a jewelist who have built a reputation for creating a finest pieces. Joby Dizon transformed the landscape of jewelers in the country when she launched her namesake business 40 years ago, characterized by the bold designs and vibrantly colored stone. Dizon's pieces can be spotted miles away. So some of her famous works and design is what you can see in the picture posted. And those are the famous craftsmen. Yes, those are some of the famous craftsmen here in our country, the country of the Philippines. And that's all for my topic. Thank you guys for watching and God bless.